Hello. Today I wanted to cover the 44th gene key, which we left this transit a few days ago, but I really felt so called to talk about it. So today the topic will be the 44th gene key, and it is the shadow of interference, the gift of teamwork, and the Siddhi of Synarchy. And when the key first started coming through, I was just like, okay, interference. Like, I just really had to think about, okay, so what is interference to me, right? And so I'm going to challenge you to do the same. So when we talk about interference, really think about what that means to you in regard to your life, your relationships. And for me, interference can mean many, many different things. But for me, it's a lot like thinking about the movie The Matrix, right? Life as the Matrix with all the codes and everything's already, pre-built out, so to speak. Um, and, it's like the coding of life itself as we know it, right? So basically when you think about interference, or when I think about interference, should I say, I think about like a bug in the matrix, right? There's a break in the code somewhere, and this bad code needs to be found and it needs to be repaired so that it can get back on track again. And you know, the the source of our coding, of our life, it's not linear as when we're so trapped in the human way of life, we tend to see things as linear, right? And so it's more of like these timelines that we're on, and there's codes for all of them. Now, when we have this interference in our life or our relationships, then it's like these codes, this interference throws off the synchronicities around us. It throws off the synchronicities and stuff we're working on, perhaps personally. It's throwing off the synchronicities and the environments that we're in, and even like maybe some relationships that you have with people, like something, there's just a shift, there was something just kind of fell off course, right? And by no mistake does that happen though, right? We have to remember, when we're in the shadows, these shadows serve a purpose. We can't just skip over them, we can't ignore them. We have to work through our shadows. We have to embrace these shadows and do the work so that we can be enlightened to the gift of it all. And these interferences, right, they bring an awareness to whatever dysfunction is going on, because at some point we can't see the pattern, we're in the pattern, and sometimes these bugs just have to come in, this interference has to come in order for us to become more aware, to snap back out of the autonomy of it all. And so I just thought, okay, I can see in a few areas of my own life where I can see interference, right? And some of my behaviors that I've picked up, or in a relationship that I'm in. And so it's starting to digest for me, right? And I'm starting to resonate with some of it. Now, the programming partner of the 44th gene key is the 24th gene key. The shadow of the 24th gene key is addiction. And when we think about it in that terms, when we think about the two together with the shadow of addiction and the interference, it's, you may find that you see some of this karmic baggage that's been trapped in to the shadows. You aren't becoming aware of what you've been trapped in for a long time. And if you're not careful, if you're not conscious, then you'll find yourself repeating these patterns. You'll find yourself repeating these various repetitions, right? You just kind of find yourself in the same place with the same people or the same type of people. And it's only when we become aware can we break apart from that. And when we think about this particular shadow as a whole, right, there's two sides of every shadow. There is the repressive side of a shadow, and then there's the reactive side of a shadow. If you are on the repressive spectrum of this particular shadow, I call it a spectrum, but then perhaps you feel distrust for people in general. And this is a learned behavior, and I think it can also be maybe inherited as well. This just nonstop distrust of people. And if you're on the repressive side, perhaps you experience like one torrential, horrific relationship, and that one relationship just sealed the deal for you. Like you have no interest whatsoever. You let that particular relationship define any potential relationship in the future. And so you're unable to receive truth. You're unable to receive love, and you almost just kind of shut down completely. You become numb to all of it, right? And then the reactive side of this particular shadow is that you're unable to break the cycle. You're unable to break the same mistakes that you keep making over and over again. And you perhaps tend to be around people who don't really respect you, or people who drain your energy and take and take and take until there's nothing left for you to give, right? They can take no more. And you just kind of continue to find yourself with these people, and you latch on because they're so familiar. So that's more the reactive side of this particular shadow. And regardless of which one you're at, the fact that you can become aware of it is key to actually doing the work and working through it. And as we work through the interference, we become more aware of it, then we move into the gift of teamwork. And teamwork is really all about, and not to sound cliche, because I mean, I just feel it so, it's all about knowing your tribe. It's knowing your earthly tribe, and it's knowing your ancestral tribe. And that could be the ancestral tribe of the past or the future, because that's where our support is. And it's where we embrace the support, and we live in the moment, and we live in peace of the unknown instead of feeling anxiety for it. And it brings us a sense of interconnectedness. And you're able to release the fears of old patterns, right? You are able to kind of release what perhaps you've uncovered so far. And when we do that, we actually can embrace the source of our support. It could be a human support system, it could be spirit, it could be nature, it could be the cosmos, and it could be all of them, because they're all intrinsically connected, right? It's like your higher self. It inspires you to co-create your world, right? Knowing that you matter, that you have a purpose in this world, a simple smile to a stranger could completely change their life. And knowing that you have that power, knowing that you have a purpose, it's so empowering. Like it just helps you just become more awake at a time, right? As you remember this power that you have, and to just change a vibration by walking in its presence or being near it. We all have the power to do that. This particular key has the innate ability to awaken, excuse me, your sense of smell, okay? And not so much of a I smell flowers or dinner cooking, but more of a at a soul level, at a heart level. This particular key can help us sniff out others that share similar fractals that we do. And with this particular key, we're able to smell out those that are like us, that are a part of the whole that we're a part of. And when we find others like us, when we can feel their frequency or smell their frequency, if you think about it in those terms, it's enough to raising our vibrations even higher. And it's giving us the opportunity to pinpoint who our allies are, right, on this plane. And to truly tune in to this particular gift, to tune into this key, you really have to take time to consider your beliefs and thoughts on the topic of reincarnation and what that means to you. And I don't know if many of you have really taken time to just in the silence contemplate, like, what is reincarnation to you? What do you think it is? Not what have you heard about it, but like what resonates with you at the core, right? And that moment of silence where nobody else is around and their beliefs aren't there. What do you believe, right? Consider, as you contemplate on that, consider the fact that maybe incarnation happens in the way of fractals, where one body of energy breaks off into many fractals that travel across the eons, learning lessons together, right? And supporting each other's journeys throughout the eons, throughout all the places and timelines that they go together, right? So I think we've talked about fractals before. So you may have to start contemplating like what fractals mean to you and how that resonates with you before you can latch onto this particular idea, or resonate with this idea, even if it does, right? That fractals, are the part of a whole energy source. So anyway, I'm very fascinated by that concept. And it's something I had heard and have still been thinking on it, right? I haven't adopted it as my belief yet, but I am super fascinated by the thought that with reincarnation, I'm with a group of fractals that come into my life and all the other lives that I've lived. And I just think that is so fascinating. So anyway, the gift is about unlocking the truth of who belongs in your life and who doesn't, and discovering who belongs in your fractal bloodline, right? And who is here as your support and your partners through the lessons that you're learning. And maybe they even have a part in those lessons. So it's really important that we pay attention to who feels familiar to us, right? When I first walk into the room, what do I feel when I'm around them? Because as we acknowledge that, right, as we tune into the energies that we're feeling and the vibrations that we're feeling, we're able to unlock that unlimited love and trust that we truly harbor within ourselves. And you may have to help them, right? You may have to play a part in helping them break free from their own interference, right? That they're also experiencing in this life, so that together, the part of, what do I want to say? So I guess together, the part of the matrix that you play in together can be rebooted and refreshed, right? You can almost reset that interference and move through with peace, in a sense. And that, I'd be curious to see how you feel about that. As we evolve from the gift, right? As we embrace the gift, we become the gift, then we're able to move into the city of synarchy. And when you get here, you seemingly dissolve into the space of human interaction and space, and you're able to travel through the many different fractal bloodlines, that you're able to move through this, right, into the cosmos, right? The secret really involves the programming partner of the 24th gene key. And that's because the 24th gene key's city is silence, right? How else can you observe or hear the movements of every cell right? If you can't go into silence. And that's a pretty powerful one in itself, because how can any of us truly evolve if we're not able to go into silence, right? And be alone. And it's just like, a computer code, or, the like I said, the matrix of life is kind of a code, a hidden code that we kind of dissolve into as we reach each of our cities and our gene keys. And the core fractals are enlightened to almost exponentially, right? But as we are enlightened, it's like the many different pieces of our particular fractal just come closer together, right? Because each fractal begins to awaken, and a chain reaction is created through this ancestral train of this ancestral chain of events that's happening, right? And so every piece of the fractal matters. And if you think about it, synarchy has really existed since the beginning of time. We see it around us in nature. I mean, we see it in the lives of bees. And so think about that. It's not impossible to achieve. It happens. And we can all reach the city with effort and time and silence and contemplation. It's when we break free from the interference, synarchy can emerge. And as a species, we're able to evolve as well. Some ideas and questions that I would have you contemplate on when you think about the 44th gene key is, do you find that you struggle with trusting other people? Do you find that you keep people at a distance? That might help you see where you're at in your shadow work. Do you notice a pattern of unhealthy relationships that you're in, or relationship habits maybe? And then maybe even think about, like, what relationships in your life now do you think you could benefit from separating from, so that you can enhance other relationships that you're in, and even create healthier relationships outside of that? Because when we can begin to see these things, we are able to move through them and conquer them, and become more aware when we have taken a step backwards back into that particular shadow. And to help you along that path of maybe trying to realize what relationships work for you and what don't, think about examples where you witnessed true teamwork in a relationship you were in, or a relationship you were able to witness in your life at some point. Where did you see that happen, and how did that make you feel, and where do you think you can incorporate more teamwork into the various relationships that you're in? Those will help you navigate the 44th gene key. And if you have the book, I so suggest reading the passage of the 44th gene key and the gene key book. And a lot of what I'm saying might make more sense. They're so in depth. The book is so in depth. And it really challenges me to rethink some of the things that have been a part of my belief system, or something I resonated with in the past. So maybe think a little deeper into that, and why I think the way that I think about that, or resonate with that situation, or that particular belief of sorts. And that's really all I have on the 44th gene key. So I hope that you guys will leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think. And I'm happy to talk about this in more depth at another time when others are more available. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And yeah, so I'll talk to all you guys later. Have a good day.